Go ahead and get started. Everyone can hear me okay. I am Amy Forbes. I am the Director of Education Technology at North Country Supervisory Union, and I will be here to help anyone with tech. I'm excited to introduce to you all Brian Miller. He is, I'm hoping I'm going to get this correct, Brian, the Director of Global Strategic Outreach for Wonder Workshop. And he'll be working with us today on going virtual with Coding and Robotics with Dash. Super excited to check this out. Thanks for being with us, Brian.
Thank you, Amy, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. Welcome. As you're coming in, if you want to, in the right side of your screen, you have your little chat area. If you want to drop in where you're from and what you do, I'd love to know who's joining us today. And as Amy mentioned, I am the Senior Director of Global Strategic Outreach at Wonder Workshop. We are the creators of Dash, Dot, and Q. I have my little Dash robot sitting right here with me. And I've been an educator for over 15 years. I started out as a kindergarten teacher. Then I became a computer teacher at an elementary school. Then I moved to Florida, which is where I live now, and was the Director of Educational Technology at one of the largest private independent schools in the United States. And then I joined Wonder Workshop after being out there and consulting and working with some companies and having the privilege to keynote conferences and travel the world. So really have loved working with Wonder Workshop over what is, I can't believe already, almost 4 years at this point. But I was the first educator that was hired for the company. So a lot of the educational tools and resources that you've seen or may have used have come from myself and my team. So it's an absolute pleasure to have other educators joining today. And I'm really excited to share with you some of the great things that we are doing at Wonder Workshop when it comes to being able to provide students with virtual coding and robotics opportunities. And now in light of COVID, we know that schools, unfortunately, might not be able to use these as they once did, just because of cleaning regulations by the schools put in place, or students being self-contained in their own classrooms and not being allowed to go to library maker spaces or computer labs where they may have been interacting with this at a different time. So what we need to do now as educators is we need to begin to think about how we're going to integrate coding and robotics into the everyday curriculum, right? So no more of the days of the 45-minute once a week computer or robotics classes. Now, because in light of COVID, the everyday teacher will want to start figuring out ways to incorporate this into your teaching and learning. So again, we've done all of this work for you. So I'm going to be sharing you a bunch of resources as well. So hi, David. It's nice to see you from Essex, Westford. Rick, pleasure to see you. If you're coming in, feel free to jump into the chat, share what you do and where you're from. I'd love to know who's in the session. Also, if you have any questions at any point in time, I'll take Q&As at the end, but if you want to drop something in the chat, otherwise we'll be able to get you on video and ask a question as well too. So happy to do that also. So what we're going to do is I have a couple slides that I'm going to walk you through, and then I'm going to get us into a demo where you can see how we are now taking our physical Dash robot, and we've created the ability for us to be able to go virtual in a virtual world that we put it in called Dash's Neighborhood. So Dash's Neighborhood, we've been able to take all of the features of Dash and put it into a virtual robot simulator. And we started doing this a little over a year and a half ago. We were in the planning process. So well before COVID was even a thing, we at Wonder Workshop were already thinking about how can we provide students with better access to our robots. And we know that not every school or not every district can afford a ton of robots. We also know that children want to continue learning at home, and there are parents that are looking to supplement a lot of this stuff into a child's after-school life. So we started exploring virtual robot simulator, which we announced in April of last year when we were doing our virtual conference. And as we were going through that virtual conference, we shared in our opening keynote that we were launching a virtual robot simulator. We launched the beta for it. And fortunately for us, we were already in that stage. All we did was, instead of announcing it at the ISTE conference at the end of June, we bumped it up into April and we put it in the hands of everyone. We were going to be doing a closed beta for this new software, but we decided to open it up to everyone because everyone was dealing with COVID at that time. So at that time, we had thousands of teachers join our beta program where they were able to bring Dash into schools virtually through Zoom or video connections. So I'm going to be showing some of that to you today. Hi, Ann. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us. So on screen right now, we've partnered with Vita-Learn, actually. So I'm happy to share some more information about that, and more details around that will be coming out shortly. Once this conference is wrapped up, we're finalizing some of these details, but you'll get a sneak peek into what that looks like today. So as Amy mentioned, I am the Senior Director of Global Strategic Outreach at Wonder Workshop. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, brian@makewonder.com. So the one-stop shop that we have moved everything into for our educator audience is the My Wonder Workshop portal, which can be found at portal.makewonder.com. Now, we did this because we wanted a space where teachers could easily find all of the tools and resources for our product library without having to worry about all the front-facing marketing stuff. You've already decided to use the product. You don't need to see all the other stuff as we're sharing this with an audience that may not necessarily know our products. So the portal.makewonder.com is a one-stop shop where you're going to be able to access everything that we have for a teacher. So welcome, Jeff. Good to see you. Appreciate you popping in here real quick and sharing that information. So the portal, which I will be showing you, is, like I said, the one-stop shop where you can find Dash's Neighborhood, where you can find all of the information for our Wonder League robotics competition. You can also find all of our curricular resources. So everything will be in there, and I'll show you what that looks like as we go through it. So what are we working on today, and what are we doing to ensure that educators have everything that they need in light of everything that's going on in light of COVID? So the first thing that we did, and I'll show you where this is in the portal, we put together a home learning toolkit. And this is for both parents and for teachers. And what this allows you to do is just have access to a ton of fun, free resources that we've pulled out, that we've created through the years. We've curated them and we've made them available to you to be able to download and use at no charge. All that stuff is completely free. We also have our Teach Wonder Home Learning Edition. So we have a couple of different professional learning resources, which are in the form of online courses. So what we did is we've put together a condensed version of that, and we also made that completely free, which is the Teach Wonder Home Learning Edition. It's more for a parent or someone that is just getting started with our robots, but it is a professional learning course that you can join and take advantage of and enroll in to get some of those details on how to get started. We also actually just wrapped up last week our International STEAM Summit. We had 10 days of over 70 speakers from all across the world. We partnered with CS for All and Zoom for this event. And we had just an incredible conversation around STEAM education in all of our sessions. So you can actually go back to virtual.internationalsteamsummit.com and you can go back and watch every single one of those sessions. They are completely for free. It costs you nothing to watch and enjoy those. So be sure to share that with others and check it out yourself. There's a lot of great things in there. We had a keynote from Ruth Farmer, who is the chief evangelist for CS for All. She was also former White House administration, and she was one of the driving forces of the CS for All movement, which came about from the Obama administration. Then we have our Class Connect with Dash's Neighborhood free 30-day trial. So what you are able to do, and I'll show you where to find this, you can actually jump in and you can start playing after we're done here with Dash's Neighborhood. We have a 30-day free trial to that, and then I'll share some details with purchasing it towards the end. Then we also have our Wonder League robotics competition that we just opened up. We are partnering again with Cartoon Network for another year of our Wonder League robotics competition, where you can sign up for free to compete for $5,000 STEM grants for your school. So at this point, we already have over 50 countries that have signed up and thousands of students. So we're excited to have more join. It's completely free for you to sign up for as a coach. So I encourage you to do that, even if you might not want to be coaching this year and you're just kind of trying to make your way through the school year, which I know everyone is trying to do. Signing up as a coach gives you free access to all of the coaches' materials, which are getting started materials and all sorts of lessons and activities. So this is a great way for you to get even more free content from Wonder Workshop. And all you have to do is sign up as a coach. You don't even have to go in and register a team. All you have to do is just register as a coach. So I'll be showing you where that is in the portal also. So with all the stuff that's going on in our lives right now, we're trying to find ways to make coding and robotics virtual and fun and rewarding for you, the teacher, and also the end user being our students. So what we've done is we've created the ability to manage and track students' performance across our application Blockly. And that's the beauty of what we've created with Class Connect. So for now, what you can do as a teacher, and I'll walk you through this process, is you can enroll your students into a class and you can track and follow how they're performing across Blockly, which is absolutely incredible to have that understanding. It also gives you the ability to see what the student's code is that they are working on. And it also even gives you the ability for you to get suggestions on how to help a student and differentiate their learning. So I'll be showing you all of that as well. And as we continue to grow with Class Connect, we're connecting more and more stuff to it. So that is the heart of our platform. That's what you need access to in order to access the virtual robot simulator as well. And I'll be walking you through all of that. So with Dash's Neighborhood, what we are putting your students in is a virtual world that gives the ability for you to prototype all of your programming through a virtual robot. And I'm going to show you how that works, but everything that you're able to do with your Dash robot, you can easily do with your Dash's Neighborhood. So you can access sensors, you can access sounds, you can do lights and colors, all of the same things that you were able to do with your physical Dash. But now it's in front of every student. So they can use that on their one-to-one devices if they'd like to. And now we know that as more students are going one-to-one or more schools are going one-to-one, teachers are looking for ways to engage students, especially in virtual Zoom video conferences or Google Hangouts or however you're delivering your virtual content. So with the beauty of being able to do it virtually, not only are you able to track and follow the students as they're using it in your back end as the teacher, what you're able to do also is students are able to share their screens as well and be able to connect. So now you don't have to worry about using a tablet to do this. This works across all devices. So it works on Apple devices, Android devices, Amazon Kindle Fires. And as long as you are running the Chrome browser on a device, so a Windows machine, an Apple machine, or a Chromebook, you can use the virtual robot simulator inside of that to be able to control Dash. The other beautiful thing is when you're done programming it in the virtual simulator, if you have a Dash, you can immediately pair that to your robot and watch it come to life in the physical environment. The other thing that we're seeing is as teachers are working with students that are both in person and virtual, and the schools might flip-flop as to who's in class and which sessions live in person, the students can still be doing everything the same as they normally would. Instead of, the students working on this, they're just working on the robot simulator. And for those students that are in person, they might be prototyping and building their program with some friends that are in a breakout room virtually. And then when it comes to pairing to a robot, the student in class pairs to the robot, and then they can have the robot come to life. So we're seeing a lot of really creative uses by teachers and students as they are using the robot simulator. But what you can see on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go through this in the demo, is you have full access to Blockly, which gives you the ability to build your programs. Then on the right-hand side of the screen, you have your virtual robot, which we will show you. Then we have the ability underneath that to access inputs and sensors. So how do we make the physical top buttons pressable? Well, we create a little robot inputs menu that allows you to do that. Then we also have the ability to zoom in and out and check out Dash's surroundings as well. And all of this stuff, as the students are working, they can either be working inside of the open-ended sandbox, which is just the simulator, or they can use the simulator to go through all of the Blockly puzzles, which will guide students in a scope and sequence scaffolded, teaching them the concepts of computer science while using the virtual robot simulator. So let's check out some of these features before we check out it in person. So one of the features is, as I mentioned, one robot for every student. So all you need to do is just open up Blockly and every student gets a virtual robot ready to code. Now, let's talk about this real quick. So the price of a physical robot is $149. But what you're able to do with and what it would normally cost for a 6-pack of robots, which wouldn't even include your entire class, you're able to equip an entire classroom of students with the virtual robot simulator. So there's a huge benefit when it comes to cost savings. And I'll go through the pricing at the end for you as well. But what we can do now is we can differentiate the students' learning. So every child can be working independently on their programming. We can also easily practice and continue the projects when they get home. So that means if you are assigning something to a student and you want them to complete that, or if a child is getting started in school, they can go home or they can be on their phone at home and be playing through all this stuff because it works across all the devices. So they can continue their learning. And then it saves time, especially right now with cleaning up. So it's easy to set up and tear down because all students are doing are pulling out their devices and they're going to be coding virtually. And then if you have 1 or 2 of those robots sitting around the room, all you would do is have the students paired to those 1 or 2 robots that are available. So it saves you quite a bit of time when it comes to setup. You also get Dash's delightful neighborhood called Dash's Neighborhood, which is the ability for you to interact and engage inside of the environment. And as more and more comes available within Dash's Neighborhood, which I'll explain, it will become more and more interactive for the students. So now we're able to engage every student in learning, which is the most important piece, knowing that students are not idly sitting by and just not sitting and watching other students program. They can all have their hand in programming because they're able to use their virtual robot simulator. It also saves time iterating on programs. So it's quick and easy for them to test things out as they are building and get an idea as to how the robot will move and navigate before actually doing it in the physical world. It also further develops 21st century skills and it enriches experience with the physical robot because then you can add on other accessories and additional challenges like our Wonder League robotics competition. This works with Blockly puzzles and Class Connect, as I mentioned. So every Blockly puzzle has the ability to be solved with Dash's Neighborhood, and teachers can use Class Connect to see their solutions, which I'll show you what that looks like on the back end. And what this means for you, it saves time and rely on a turnkey pathway to provide basic coding literacy for every student. You can start implementing coding and robotics without any coding experience. And we know teachers might not necessarily know how to get started teaching coding, and they might not understand these concepts themselves. So we make that really easy for you to start teaching right away. And then it makes coding and robotics learning relevant to everyday subjects. So as I show you how you're able to integrate this cross-curricularly, you will see those direct connections. Then one of the beauties is you can custom code, so you can create your own projects in the sandbox, and then you can easily share those codes with other friends inside of your class. So you can download their code and you can easily remix what they've created as well. So let's take a look at Dash's Neighborhood. I'm going to stop sharing this screen for one moment and I'm going to switch screens over here. So 1 second. All right, so now I am inside of the portal. So as I mentioned, all of this can be found inside of portal.makewonder.com. You have the ability to go in here and access your Class Connect, which I will take you to in a moment. And this is a quick jump to be able to get to the coding platform, Blockly, for students, which I will show you as well. If we scroll down, we have our Wonder League robotics competition. This is where you can sign up and register as a coach. So you have the ability to get and access all of the great materials that are found inside of here. We also have our Wonder Workshop curriculum, which I'm going to click on for one moment. So this actually will take you in, and all of this stuff is completely free for you to access. We have our scope and sequence that we follow with Dash. So you have what students would be learning in level A through level F. And if you notice, and you're familiar with code.org, you can see that everything that we create is aligned to code.org. So you are able to continue on with what you're teaching them with Dash and bring that into code.org. Or if you're teaching using code.org, you can easily integrate all of the Dash activities and lessons because we align directly to everything that they're doing. So if your students are working in level A on code.org, which is sequencing and loops, you can easily come into Dash's neighborhood and come into our curriculum and continue with physical computing at that point using our robots and our robot simulator. So this gives you the kind of layout as to what is covered in the scope and sequence. And then at the top, each of these little areas, these tabs, are clickable. So in here, it pulls out a series of lessons and activities. So we have an unplugged lesson that teaches students all about sequencing and algorithms. And then it goes into some coding activities that they can do, finally by an assessment at the end that you are able to provide those students. And that happens for every single one of those different coding levels. So for example, this is grades 3 through 4. This is grades 4 through 5. This is grades 5 through 6. So all these lessons are available for you to access, download, and use, which is super important. And a lot of people sometimes miss that. All right, so I'm going to go back to our portal here. Also down here, we have our Teach Wonder, which is our online learning platform. So these are courses that your teachers can take. It is a paid subscription for that. So there is a cost to taking those courses because you do get a professional certificate at the end. There's about 12 to 20 hours of content, depending on which course you're going through, that you are able to access and learn all about coding and robotics. And it's not just coding and robotics as a tutorial for teaching you how to use Dash, Dot, or Q. This is teaching teachers how to teach computer science who have never taught it before. So at the end, it covers using the robots, but at the beginning, it teaches you all about the importance of computer science as you're going through that. Then we have down below that, we have our global educator community, which I would encourage you to join. It is completely free. It's a Facebook group. There's thousands of educators that are found in here where we connect with other educators from across the world to talk about coding and robotics. Teachers are sharing best practices and resources and lesson ideas. If teachers have questions, they post them in there and other teachers answer. We also go live inside of our community. So I typically go live at least once a month and share some of the updates that we're doing. And we do a lot of special opportunities and giveaways inside of that community as well. Then we have our home learning toolkit, which I mentioned, which is all sorts of free activities. So if you go into the educator section, we have things like coloring books. One of the big ones that people love are our Blockly printouts. So these are printouts that you can download as a PDF file, cut out, and then students can create their own offline coding programs just by using paper and laying them out in the progress that they want their, or the sequence they want their program to run. So that's available for free in there as well. We have all of our shows that we used to run, our Dash and Dot shows, along with activities inside of there. We have different Steam Pack activities. We have roll cards, which is really cute. So these are cards that you can give to your students so they know what job they are a part of when they're actually working collaboratively in a group. So you might assign someone a tinkerer or as the robot wrangler. You would give them this card and they would know exactly what their job is and the tasks that they have to complete. Then there's tips and tricks, and there's comic strips, there's memory games, there's all sorts of stuff. We're always adding things in here that you can access for free. So be sure to check that out as well. Then we have our getting started guides for Dash, Dot, and Q that are free to download also. So now that I've kind of laid that out for you, I'm going to jump in here to Class Connect. And what it'll do when it takes me in it is it'll take me to a class. So I have a couple of different classes that I've built in here. And you can see that I have students that are enrolled, and I'm actually going to go out here to the classroom so I can show you how easy it is for you to create your first class. So when you join your free trial, at the very top, you will see this code. This is the teacher code that you provide your students that will enroll them in their class. So all you're doing is building a class list that students will be able to click on and reference, which I'll show you. Then they will have to add in their teacher code. And that teacher code is found here at the top. Once they do that, then they are then synchronized to your classroom, and you're able to see the work that they are doing, and they will have full access to the virtual robot simulator. Without access to to Dash's neighborhood and Class Connect, the students would only have Blockly, and the virtual robot simulator wouldn't be there. So Class Connect and Dash's neighborhood are together, and they are a part of a bundle, which I'll share at the end. So to create a classroom, all I need to do is just create, I'll call this test class. You would then go in and you would select your grade level. In this case, I'm going to do an A, and I'm going to create it. So now it's gone in and it's created a test class. So now if I go in here, it takes a second to load. It might be my internet on my end. Let me go back. Probably the internet that I'm dealing with on my end right now. Yep, let me try one more thing here. Give me one moment. Just popping this open in another browser window. Huh, okay, give me a second. We'll let that continue. There we go. Okay. So in here, I'm able to go in and I am able to, in the test class, manage my classroom. See if this wants to load for me now. There we go. And then I can go in and I can add students. So I can do this in a couple of different ways. The first way is if I go into here in the add multiple students, I would type in each student line by line. So I would say John Smith and Sally Sanders. I'll just click add, and then it will go in and it will add in my students. It seems like there's a little issue going on right now, so we'll have to find out what's going on. So if I go back into classrooms, you can see that I've already built out a class in here, which we'll check out in a moment. So let me go back here. And I'll change this to an example class that I've done. Keep getting some errors, so they might be working on something. We'll let that run for a moment. Let's see if I can change the class here. And while that's loading, I'm going to actually jump into our coding site. So I'm going to go to code.makewonder.com, which brings me to this page. And what I'm able to do in here is I'm going to click on Play with Dash and Dot, and it's going to load up my classes. So when you build out your class and you enroll your students, what the students will see is they will see a little drop down, and they will be able to pick their class that they're a part of. So if they were part of the Pathfinders Institute, they would see a list of all the classes and students inside of that class. In this case, we're going to play with Vita-Learn, and I'm going to click on my name here, which I've created an account for already. And now it says, welcome back, Brian. And I can go in and I can start working on my puzzles. So the puzzles are the instructional scaffolded lessons that allow you to go in and learn all the concepts of computer science from sequencing, loops, and variables. And as you go through each of these, it gives you different lessons that are covered. So you can see that it finally loaded for me here. The first one is driving school. So if I click on driving school number 1, me as the teacher, I'm able to see what the suggested solution is, but most importantly, I'm able to see what the concepts are that students are learning. So the first puzzle that I go through with you, we're going to be learning sequencing, robot movement, lights, and sounds. So let's jump in here. Let's click on this. It says Dash needs your help. Teach Dash to drive safely around the Wonder Workshop neighborhood square, which is full of surprises. So I'm on lesson number 3 now for this. So it has a series of different lessons. And the reason why I know that is because the blue bar is here and it's already gone through the first 2. And there are a number of them throughout here. I believe there's like 12. So if I go through here, it says drag and stack 1 block from the drive menu to teach Dash how to drive backwards. So as the students are going through here, they're only being introduced to the blocks on the left-hand side that they are dealing with. So you can see that everything else is grayed out except for the backwards block, which we are introducing. So if I drag and drop this in, it's now in here. Now on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the virtual robot simulator. And what I'm able to do in here is I can actually make this full screen. So you can see the entire world that Dash is in. And I can click with my mouse and I can drag around and take a look at what's in here. So one of the things that you will notice is you have Dash that looks exactly the same. And I can use my scroll wheel on my mouse, or I can pinch and zoom to zoom in and out and see the world a little bit further. You can change the angles that you're coming in at and the direction, so you get a good feel as to what you're doing. You can see that it has things like the sensors that are in here. You have the eye lights that are in here. You have the buttons that are physically here. And they're all laid out exactly the same. You even have the power cable, even though you won't need it for this. It's still there. We wanted to create this to look and feel exactly the same way that the robot operates. You have your rear sensor. You have your microphone input. So you have 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So that's where the microphones would be. You have all the accessory snap areas. You have our sound speakers that are built into Dash. So all that stuff is here on the physical robot, and we've created it in the virtual world. So again, that same feeling was so important to us. The other thing that we did was, as you can see, if I zoom out, you can see that we have a grid here. The world is gridded. And these grids are 10 by 10 centimeter squares. And the dark orange grids are 30 by 30 centimeter squares. These mimic the mats that we use at Wonder Workshop. So all the stuff that we use in terms of mats from our robotics competition, or everything that we reference, uses the exact same gridded framework. So now if you are building your code and you have Dash sitting in the first square in C and you want it to go forward, 20 different blocks, you would then be able to see what would happen in the virtual world. And then when you place Dash on its physical mat and it goes 20 blocks, it will do the exact same thing. And that's the beauty of being able to work in the simulated space, is that you're able to prototype all this before you actually do it. So going back here again to this code. So now we've done this. We've added in the block. If I press the little play button, it'll run through the code. It'll tell me, good job, I've completed it. And then it will move on to the next line of code, or the next puzzle that the students are working through. So now it says unscramble the blocks to teach Dash how to move forward, backwards, and forwards again. So now we're dealing with a sequence. So we have forwards, we have backwards and forwards. I'm actually going to make a mistake here so we can see what kind of happens. So if I hit play, it's going to go forwards, it's going to go forwards, and then it's going to give us an error that there is a code here. So that's something that the student is aware of and able to go in and fix. Now, if a student is running into trouble, what we see here is these are a bunch of teachers that I worked with in the Infosys Pathfinders program. So I trained for a week long, 8 hours a day. I did lessons with teachers on coding and robotics using the virtual robot simulator. The entire thing was completely virtual. So you can see here that students worked through their puzzles, But when the students saw an exclamation point on their side, it actually gives an exclamation point on the teacher's side. So if I click on one of these, I can see that Robin here created her program, and I can see the solution that the student came up with, which was when start, transport dash car engine, and then the suggested solution. So we give you the solution that the students should solve with. This is what it is, and it checked out. So of course it was correct. Now we have an exclamation point that is here. So it looks like Robin ran into an issue on this particular program. So let's click on this and see what happens, because this is where the power comes in to Dash's Neighborhood, especially in a teacher that has not done coding before and may not understand some of these concepts, but also wants to be able to help a student out. So if we click on the exclamation mark, it pulls out the code that the student did. So we have when start, wait for Dash to hear, turn to voice, my sound, wait for Dash, look towards voice, my sounds up, and then I can see that Robin missed 3 of these blocks. So here's Robin's code. She's also only spent a minute on this. So if we see that a child is struggling, see this one here I think may have spent a little bit more. Yep, so let's go back in. So we can see here that Dana was working on this. She spent 15 minutes on this. So we know that Dana might be struggling with this. We can also see that there's some code that's left to the side. She hasn't yet quite connected it. She still has some more to do. So she's kind of working through this. But for me as a teacher, you know, spending 15 minutes on this, knowing that it should only take a couple of minutes to get through each one, between 5 and 7 minutes for each code, it's time for me to intervene to the student. So now what I would do is I would connect with Dana and say, you know, Dana, let's go through it. Let's join a little breakout room and let's have a conversation and let's see where you might be struggling, or share your screen with me inside of this room with the students and we can talk through this. So her being able to show this and talk through it, and me as the teacher know exactly what the student's solution is and what the solution should be, makes it really easy for me to be able to help out that child. And then they're not getting frustrated and they're not sitting there banging their head against the wall saying, I just can't do this. So you as the teacher having this data and feedback is so important. But now it goes on even further, right? So now I've worked with Dana, but I see she's still not quite fully grasping this concept. So if I go up to more and I click on this, now what I can do is there's a couple of things. The first thing is these are puzzle walkthroughs and extensions, and I can see exactly what every single child is doing and the puzzles that they're working on, and we've laid them all out for you. So we've given you all the concepts that are covered, the vocabulary that's covered for that puzzle that they're working on, reflection questions, extension activities. So these are things that I can provide Dana to be able to work through some of this stuff. And then it goes through and gives you step-by-step each of those puzzles and the solutions that they should be going through. So she's struggling on challenge number 3 right now. Well, let's see what's coming up in challenge number 4. So we can see now, here's what she's going to be working through, and here's some of the extra codes, that programming blocks that she's going to be working with. And we lay that out for you because each of these scaffold and grow on each other. So we lay out everything that they need to know. And then we cover the educational standards. So if your district does require you to include the standards that are being covered in what you're teaching, you're able to easily find all of those standards that are found in here as well. So that's great to have that level of resource available to you. But what about other activities that I might want to provide Dana? Well, what I can do is I can give Dana a challenge card. So we have physical challenge cards. We are in the process right now of digitizing all of these challenge cards, which means you'll be able to virtually assign a challenge card to a student, and it'll pop up in here to see how they're performing. We also have lessons that we can provide. So where I showed you those lessons were, so if I click on this one's called Waiting for Events. So I might want to give Dana this activity to work through. So we have the review, we have some instructional materials, we have the independent practice that Dana would be working on. All of this stuff is already laid out in here for you to use. So again, another great resource inside of there. And then it covers the coding concepts as I showed, cross-curricular connections, and computational thinking. So as you are maybe providing an update to families as to, hey, here's what our students learned today, or here's where a child is struggling today, we're able to give you the vocabulary that you should be sharing with them so they understand what it is that that child is learning. So having that is of huge value to be able to see and track and follow the progress that a student is making across all of the puzzles that are inside of Blockly. So now that we've kind of gone through that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back over here and I'm going to exit my way out of Blockly. And I'm going to go in here to create a new program because I want to show you how this works exactly as Dash does. So I'm going to create a new blank project and I'm going to click create. So now what we have here is we have our sandbox. This allows you to just go in and start working in here, designing and creating your own programs and using the virtual simulator to be able to lay out exactly what that looks like. Now, one of the things that I am going to show you in here, which is brand new, we just launched it on Friday of this week. So we have had the request from teachers all over saying, we are using this as a prototyping tool for our Wonder League robotics competition. Now, the Wonder League robotics competition uses a mat that is a themed mat that goes along with the competition that they're working on. So now what we have here is we have this little view. It's a little camera here. If I click on this, it'll change the view and puts in that virtual coding map. So now students are able to work through this as they would using a physical map. And you can see the layout of our mat that we use for our coding competition. What's nice about this is now we are working in lettered and numbered coordinates. So it's a lot easier for students to be able to quickly understand where it is that they're moving. And one of the things that we are working on is the ability for you to swap out these mats with some other mats. So this is the first mat that we're releasing, which is our competition mat. Down the line, we'll be providing the ability for you to upload a PNG file or a JPEG that meets these certain proportions that will allow you to swap in the background. So let's say you wanted this to be a world map or a state map or a life cycle. You would have the ability in the future to be able to do that as well. The other thing that we're adding in the future as well are physical blocks that you can put anywhere inside of the grids that will serve as obstacles for the robot. So you'll be able to create and add in your own obstacles in there as well. So that stuff is coming down the line. We are slowly creating all this stuff and releasing it. So as mentioned, this is brand new. This just came out on Friday. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the cool things that we can do with this. I know I'm keeping track of the time here. We have a couple minutes left, and I want to leave time for Q&A as well, too, in case anyone has any questions. But what we're able to do here is I'm going to run through and just show you some of the blocks that are able to be used. So we've already shown that you can go forwards and backwards. It works the exact same way, where you have the exact same layout as you would if you were using the physical robot. So nothing's changed. We haven't adapted anything to specifically feel or look different. We wanted to keep it completely the same, so it makes it really easy for students to understand. So we have our drive around. We have our look, so you can look around in certain directions the same way. And again, if I do look, we have our angles. So now I can say, look 120 degrees, look 0, look 90. So you have the ability to change that based on your angles. We have our lights. So yes, so all of the lights still work. So if I go in here and I change it to all lights, and I say all lights turn green, and I hit the play button, it's going to, I'm in the locked in view. So there we go. So let me go back and hit play. It'll change all the lights to green. So you can see in there that the lights change to green. If I change them to red, all the lights on Dash, when I hit play, change to red. So you can see that on the robot. We can also do stuff like look or lights with the eye pattern. So now we can also have Dash's eye pattern. So I'll make a little smiley face here. Turn on those. So now we've created a little eye pattern smiley face. So now when I hit play, it zooms into Dash's eyes, lights up the lights the same way. and then zooms out. And I can go in a little bit closer if we wanted to see this closer up. There you go. So that does the eye lights. Then we can do sounds. So the same way that Dash Robot works with our sounds, we have pre-built sounds. We also have the ability for you to go in and record your own sounds. So you can go in and you can record your own sounds. You just need to provide access to your microphone. The student can record their sounds. Now, something to know is the sounds only live locally, temporarily, as they are working through it. Sounds cannot be transferred from device to device. They cannot be transferred even when you're sharing your code with someone else. And why do we do that? Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. So because you're able to record your voice, a student could give their name, their address, their phone number, and then share that with someone else. We do not allow that to happen. So if a child records a sound, it only plays locally. And then if they were to try to send this code to another child, then that audio would be stripped out and there would be no audio. That child, the new child, would have to go in and record what they wanted it to say or do. So that's a protection piece that we have in place to ensure that student information is not shared. We have animations that allow us to go in and do some of the fun, already created actions that Dash has. So you can see Dash can do a little fun dance, just like Dash would do in person. We have our controls, so all the stuff that we would normally do with repeats and loops and if else functions. So all that is available in here as well. We have variables also. So as you get into some more complex coding, you can incorporate your variables. And accessories are here, but they are not working in the virtual robot simulator yet. Those are things that we are working on. The reason why that is in here is because you have the ability, as you are working in here, to pair your robot to a physical Dash robot. So right now, if I turn on my Dash, it can see that Chloe is here. And when I turn on Chloe and I pair it, it'll end up pairing to the robot, and then I'm able to do the coding with this. So if I were to use this as my coding program and I did have physical accessories mounted on here, it would work with the physical robot. So the fact that they're there means that you can still do all your coding, pair a physical robot to it. In the future, we will have the virtual components in here added as well. And we are slowly releasing stuff every couple of weeks into the robot simulator, on top of squashing bugs that we find as well too. So the team is constantly working on building this and making it better and better. One of the things that I did mention that I want to show you is the ability for you to use buttons or sensors. So how do we do this with a virtual robot? Well, you'll notice that when I added this block here, it created a new robot inputs area. So that means this says when I hit start and when Dash's top button is pressed, Dash will do a confident dance. So now when I hit play, Dash doesn't do anything because I have yet to press the top button. And normally I would press the top button on Dash's head. But in this case, since it's virtual, I have a virtual top button that's blinking at me. So if I press this, now it will run the code. So this is our way of being able to create some of those button presses and sensors in here. And when I say sensors, I mean it will see stuff in here as well too. So if I say it sees something behind it, when I hit play, it has a new robot inputs button. If I click on that, a little hand comes down and then activates the code. So we have a little hand that drops. For Dashier's voice, you can place a voice somewhere on the screen physically that you can have it interact with. If Dash sees something in the front, a hand comes down. Otherwise, if Dash is near something in the environment, so I can use this here and kind of, have Dash run into the goat maybe, and instead of running into the goat, when Dash comes close to the goat, it would then back up. So it will interact with its environment using the sensors as well. So we've tried to think of everything that the physical Dash robot would need in order to be able to interact the same way that you're using it with the students in person. Now, let's say I've created this code and I wanted to share this. And one of the things that I like to do as a teacher is I might want to have some code already set up that the students have to go in and build a sequence with. So let's say I give this code to students and I want them to build a sequence with these particular blocks. I would go up here to this little icon, and it has, you can now share projects. I'll click the share button and I'll click upload project. Now what I can do is I can give this code to my students. I might type that in a Zoom or type that into my Google Classroom that you want students to download. They would then type in this code. So we'll copy this to the clipboard. Then they would go in, and I'm going to create a blank program real quick so we can see what happens. They will go in and they will go to My Projects, and they'll click the download button. Then they will paste in their code that you've provided them with the blocks that they should be working with. Then they will download it. And now all the blocks that I've set up are in here, and then they have to work on this to create the particular sequence. Maybe I've created a story and a sequence that they have to figure out. So that allows me to go in and share other blocks that I've created with students as a teacher. Now, if I was a student, I can share this with others as well. So I can build all this stuff out and share that with another student that they can work on. So really cool, the ability to share all of that stuff as well. So I'm going to flip back over here to my presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And I'm going to jump back over to my Google Slides. And I'm going to share some last couple things, and then I'll be happy to take any questions. So one of the things that I did mention is we do have our partnership with Vita-Learn. Jeff Mao will be sharing more details on this on your website. And what you're able to do here is we've provided Vita-Learn with a 15% off discount that gives them access at a cheaper rate for our Teacher Success Pack and our Team Teaching Success Pack. So these are our two most popular packages that we offer. The first one, which is the Teacher Success Pack, provides you as a teacher and 35 students inside of your class. So this is if a teacher wants to do this on their own. They would have access to Dash's Neighborhood for 12 months. It also includes access to the premium lesson library, which are math lessons, science lessons, social studies lessons that you can easily go in and include in your instruction that are aligned to Common Core, Next Generation Science, ISTE, Code.org standards. So you have access to all of our lesson library and all of the lessons that go along with that. We have over 100 different types of lessons. And now we are focusing specifically on math Common Core curriculum. So every 2 or 3 weeks, we are introducing new math Common Core curriculum lessons directly into here because we want to be able to teach computer science beyond just teaching it inside of a computer science class or coding or robotics class. So we are making sure that you have the resources and lessons that you need to be able to include this into all curricular areas. You then also receive access to our course, which is the Coding and Robotics with Dash and Dot. And then you also get exclusive access to a quarterly webinar that we run at the company. The other package is our more popular package, which is giving 2 teachers access to everything. So it's for 2 teachers up to 500 students. And the design around this is if there's a librarian or a computer teacher or a makerspace teacher, this way there can be 2 of those enrolled as the teachers managing your entire class of students or your entire school of students. So you would have access to making sure that every single child has access that they need. The third one is our School Success Pack. And this is for those schools or districts that have truly embraced computer science and have decided to bring this into every single classroom. And we know not every teacher is offering this yet, but this allows you for 25 teachers and 500 students to have access. This would cover your entire school. So we have that especially through Vita-Learn. So be sure to check back in the next couple of weeks. Jeff will have that information up on the website for you all. We also have an additional savings, which there will be details on there as well. So if you're looking to get dashes for your own at a discounted rate, we have our home learning bundle, which is normally $200. For Vita-Learn, we are sharing that for $169.99. That gets you, and this is more for our being a home learning bundle for parents, or if you're just trying to get started, maybe with a couple of students. This gets you access. This gives you a physical dash robot. It gives you the gripper kit that you can build with. It gives you a teacher license for 6 months and 6 months for 2 students as well. So again, this is designed more for home, but if there's families that want to bring this into what they are doing at home, we're providing that savings to you all as well. Finally, if you have any questions, you can feel free to join in the chat, or you can request access to join. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, you can feel free to reach out to me directly at brian@makewonder.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Brian L. Miller, and feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or see if there's anything that I can help with. So feel free to use the chat. Feel free to request access. You're welcome, Amy. Thanks for joining. And yeah, please be sure to share this with your STEAM coach as well. And thanks for the introduction today too. So I'll hang out here for a couple minutes. If anyone has questions, you can feel free to ask and join. I'm more than happy to answer for you. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your conference, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Yeah, good question, David. So you can find pricing on our website. So I'll actually show you here. So if you go to store.makewonder.com, or just go to makewonder.com and click on the store. So here, I'll type it into the chat here so you have it. When you go here, if you go to educational products and you scroll down, you can find everything that I've shared here. So we have our coach pack. We have our K-5 classroom pack with Class Connect. We have a bunch of different models. So they include different numbers of robots and stuff. But if you scroll down, you'll find, here's if you wanted to include the teacher success pack is for 1 teacher and 35 students. Then we have our team teaching success pack, which is for 2 teachers and 500 students. And then our school success pack. And one thing to mention is this is cheaper than buying just a couple of robots. So it would cost $395 to get about 6 robots for your classroom. You're able to equip every single child with the virtual robot for the same price. So if you're looking to, especially if you're teaching virtually, you would be able to equip every single one of your students with the virtual robot simulator that would allow them to use it not only at school, but also anytime that they want at home as well, to extend the learning beyond just the school day. So you can be sure to check that out and pricing. And then this would be the 15% off of the $395 and 15% off of the $1440 as well through Vita-Learn. You're welcome, Ann. Thanks for joining. All right, so I'm going to share my screen one more time, so then that way you have my contact info. Again, you can feel free to reach out if there's anything you need. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the conference. And thanks for joining. Take care, guys.